Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And I'm so happy today. I've got my guest speaker is all the way from the UK. So welcome, Jess.
Hi.
So Jess Shillingford is based in the UK, as I just said, and she loves traveling. She has traveled a lot and met fantastic people along the way. Some things that people don't actually know that she's also a jazz singer, songwriter who plays the guitar and loves to perform with a band. She empowers experienced entrepreneurial and committed conscious creators, master coaches, healers, and light workers to reframe what is possible with energetic belief clearing and co-create limitless lives by design. She's the founder of Mindset Alchemy. She empowers you to use tools on behalf of the self and others to clear your energy bodies and release stubborn mental blocks. So you can connect with your superconscious and live a more balanced, aligned, harmonious, divinely guided life and business. So welcome, Jess. So I know that today you're going to talk about the energetics of conscious creation and emphasize more on intuition in business and in life. So welcome, Jess.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Okay.
So how are you today, Jess?
I'm really well. How are you?
Fine, thank you. A bit cold here in Ecuador. We are waiting for the summer and it's not coming yet. So I'm keeping fingers crossed.
Well, it's been really, really hot here in the UK, which is unusual, but very welcomed. Okay. It's been nice to really just soak in that sun.
Well, yeah, I used to live in the UK and it was raining.
Exactly.
So more than summer, so more than sunny. So welcome, Jess, and all yours. So tell us about intuition.
Okay. Well, I think there are a couple of myths that I just want to begin by clearing. Intuition is something that we are all innately born with. It's a skill that we all have. I think if we think about intuition in some contexts, such as investment banking or gambling or con artists, these are people that are naturally able to just tune in and follow that impulse or that hit that they get, and they seem to be able to strike it lucky. But is it luck, or is it just a really fine-tuned ability to process that information and trust it, go on their hunches? Other times people will talk about having a gut feeling, oh, I just had a sense that that person was dangerous, or I just thought I better go home, or I better leave the house a little bit later that morning, and then you find out there was something. And so people are naturally using their intuition. It's just about whether we can tap into it at will, or if we actually trust it. So I think there's another way to look at intuition development, and it's the way that I really focus on. And it's about looking at spirituality, looking at it through the lens of spirituality. And the way that I look at that is really being able to become aligned with one's truth. So the reason why my course is about unlocking intuition and developing the art of conscious creation is because we are creating our realities, and we are either creating our realities consciously, or we are creating our realities unconsciously. And because I've come from both sides of the spectrum, I'm able to understand how empowering and liberating it is to be able to choose to create from a conscious, or as conscious as possible perspective. So if we want to talk about conscious creation, what we really need to be doing is beginning by talking about our esoteric anatomy, which is our energy bodies. And in the Eastern world, or the Eastern philosophy, they will talk about the chakras. And in the Western world, we'll talk about the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, and the thymus gland, and other energy centers in our body. what happens is when we're born and we grow up, as having our human experience, we get separated from this divine aspect of self, this divine spark of consciousness, this I am presence, which is a really high vibrational, eternal sense of consciousness. And when we understand that we can create or co-create reality through this perspective, what we need to do is actually clear the baggage. So what we find is we are we're creating reality through the lens of old filters, old beliefs, old programs, old traumas, foreign energy being societal ideas, familial concepts, things, beliefs that don't belong to us. So what happens is, as we pick these things up, and suddenly the sun's come in and kind of made me some weird shadow creature. What happens is we walk through life repeating things. Many of you may in the audience be recognizing, I have these patterns that I constantly repeat. I keep choosing really dysfunctional relationships, or I keep I keep being addicted to alcohol, or whatever the issue is. And it's because it's connected to some old energy that needs to be cleared from our field. So what I do in my work is actually help people to clear their energy bodies. And through that clearing, through that developing or understanding how their experiences are being shaped by old energies, beliefs, concepts of the world, assumptions, how through clearing these, either in the mental body, which is where we focus on mindset, where we focus on positive thinking, affirmations, and the subconscious mind, and really reprogramming and clearing limiting beliefs, we also need to clear from the physical body. And when we're in the physical body and we know that we've got energy blocks, it's emotion or thoughts that are showing up either through tension. So today I was really nervous before coming on. I started to get tension in my shoulders. So I'm able to run energy through my system and have various techniques to clear these energies. But what I'm saying is, it's evidence that there's an old fear or an old thought is being, it's blocking and showing up itself up in my body. And then when we think about the emotional body, it's old traumas from childhood or past experiences that then we become a vibration, a vibratory match for that type of experience. So when we talk about,
we attract the same thing again, over and over again.
Exactly. So becoming the conscious creator and understanding the universal laws, it's not just like, law of attraction where like attracts like. We're looking at a whole spectrum of laws that govern our universe. And what I help people to do is clear that dissonance, clear those vibrations, so that they can then choose what they want to create. And in doing that, in the clearing of the body, what people find is they become a clearer channel for subtle energy. It hits those impulses, streams of thoughts. So there's many different types of intuition. There are around 22, if I'm not wrong, or maybe more.
Wow.
Specific.
I didn't think there were so many.
Yeah, specific psychic abilities. Now, the main ones people are aware of is claircognizance, which is when we have just a knowing. So this is the classic. I mean, most people are claircognizant, and that's the one that I recognized in myself first. Claircognizance is something that is really great because you don't have to interpret meaning. You don't have to figure out what the symbolism might be. You just have a knowing, that.
It's just like suddenly there is something and it's so obvious
Yeah.
But you just make the decision, or you just buy it, or it's just like, yeah, that's obvious.
Exactly. And the key there is that you don't need to work it out. And I think that's the key for all of this, is our intuition is so quick that if we're not present in the body, if we're not creating time to be still, if we're not in tune with ourselves, or if we're filled with all of this old energy, and and even picking energy up throughout the day, we are all numbing out, through trying to cope with a nervous system that's all dysregulated because of the stress of modern life, or the trauma that most people have experienced, large or small. That separates us from our truth and from being able to access this information. When we get an intuitive hit, most of us slow it down by using the intellect to question, to evaluate, to analyze, and go into that left mind thinking. So really, to tune into intuition, the key is to really develop meditation skills. And the meditation skills I teach on my course are specifically designed to awaken intuition and to do a lot of the clearing. And as you become an awakening being and more conscious anyway, there's that healing work that needs to be done. Even if you're actually naturally already functioning and being able to operate using your intuition and just having more an adventurous and fun life because you've woken to synchronicities and you're following that guidance, it's still really beneficial to be able to clear your field because you can pick things up at the bus stop or from other people's emotions. And empaths really need to be able to clear. But talking about the other forms of intuition, so there's clairvoyance, where we can see symbols, and the clairsentience, where we can feel things in our bodies. And if you are somebody who is walking into a room and you're suddenly taking on pain and feeling really tense, and you're feeling emotional, exactly, unless you're managing your own energy field, and unless you're aware and deeply connected to yourself, you're just going to be walking through life out of control, really.
Exactly, according to other people's emotions, and you won't be able to control if you don't actually set some boundaries, because you will attract others' emotions.
Yeah, exactly. So and then the other most well-known one is clairaudience. So where we can hear downloads or information, or just one word phrases or whatever. Like, for example, for me, when I began becoming clear about my intuition, I had a dark night of the soul, and I was completely disconnected from myself. And when I began receiving healing and doing a lot of energy work, I kept hearing the phrase universal laws, which led me to go deeply into these different realms and rabbit holes and learning and connecting back to where I am now. So intuition in life is a really powerful tool. And I think we're moving, as we evolve as a species, we're moving now into the age where more of us are awakening, more of us are connecting with these innate abilities. And what I found was, by connecting with them, I ended up being able to, and I still am, but I opened up a whole world of joy, of magic, of miracles, of adventure, and freedom, because you can actually, instead of doing things that are not aligned with what you want to do, or doing things because you think that's what you have to do, you can just send your ideas out, and then you find signposts and you follow those signs,
or people,
and
people on your journey.
Yeah,
You know, like I call them little angels. They're here to help
yeah,
you. And
yeah.
totally, definitely. And when did you realize that you needed to get back into yourself and to tap into your intuition? What happened?
Oh gosh. So I was an educator in mainstream education in the UK, which I loved. My job was everything to me. I was passionate about it. However, the system is really broken in the sense that you have to work. Well, you don't have to. I chose to work, ridiculous hours. There was no turning off that job, especially for someone who is so committed to the children and committed to quality education and the whole thing. But I worked for like 70 hours a week for 7 years. Yeah. Like,
So
so
was nearly
even
like
when I
a
was,
burnout? Was it like a burnout?
yeah. And towards the end, I burnt out. I was just absolutely exhausted. And I also was repeating patterns in my own private life with men and choosing really dysfunctional and quite violent relationships. And there was this idea about incongruity. That's why I talk about this thing. I'm in my professional world, I'm a deputy head. I'm teaching children about the human rights, about developing their own mindsets and all of these things. But then there's this incongruence where in my own home, I'm being abused ultimately. So it came to a point where my soul was saying that you can't, there's just no more. And I
Can't
became
carry
super
on.
numb. Yeah. And really afterwards, it was only months later, I found out that it was a dark night of the soul, which is ultimately when you're just you're not going to function anymore going down the wrong way, as disconnected and separate from your truth. And so what I did, again, all of this was intuition, because in the months leading up to this time, I was buying crystals. I was clearing and decluttering my house. I was putting a new kitchen. Like, I actually put a new kitchen in, threw out all of my belongings, bought new ones. And so this process was happening without me being consciously aware. And I flew to Thailand, and I flew to a tiny little village called Shatanu. And again, I was not into yoga, I wasn't into spirituality, none of it. But I was just shattered. And I ended up getting Reiki, theta healing, shamanic soul retrieval, and started doing yoga. And suddenly I just got super tuned in. I started connecting with angels. I started hearing information, downloads coming through. And I met a guy who gave me I had so many healers and stuff, but this guy gave me a Reiki session, and he was a hypnotherapist. And I said, oh, I really wish I could stay for 4 weeks and 4 more weeks. And he was like, why not? And I was like, I can't. And he was like, but that's just a belief. And that was the moment I heard about these beliefs and reality, like the nature of reality. I studied philosophy, but it kind of came back to me. And I'm like, hang on a minute, perception and reality, it's true. And so I then heard Abraham Hicks, and I started listening to Abraham Hicks every day. And that was the process of the mental body. And that's the thing about our journeys, developing our mental bodies. I started off with, self-love, and I'm grateful, and I appreciate life, and doing all of this. But as I got deeper into the development, I found that it wasn't really enough to just focus on affirmations. There was still stuff that needed to be cleared. And that's why I do energetic belief clearing. That's why I train people to do the process themselves, so that they can, because it's a lifelong, if you're committed to conscious creation and living a limitless life, which is available for us, and abundant and aligned and really aligned to what you truly want on a heart level. Having a tool like Mindset Alchemy Ho'oponopono, which is a modern version of a ancient spiritual technique that was brought to the West by the late Morna Simeona, not the version that people are familiar with that Joe Vitale teaches and the other guy, Hugh Len. And it's not just a 4-word mantra. What I've been taught and trained to teach is something a lot deeper. It clears the cellular memory, it clears the emotional body, it clears the mental body. So you can literally, and I've adapted it through, because I'm somebody who loves to, which I've always done, synthesize things from a range of disciplines. I've created something called mindset alchemy, and that's at the core of it. So that's why I teach people a whole, it's this topic as a whole. So we look at the energy body, we look at chakras, we look at the universal laws, how we create reality, and how to do that deep inner work. Because what I find is a lot of people don't know how to question, to ask questions. I have a little acronym that I use called Mastery. So it's meditate, that's core skill number 1, meditate. And it's not just, there's so many different types of meditation.
Of course.
But the meditation skills that I teach are rooted in energy clearing. So, and to awaken intuition. So meditate, second question, second letter, ask questions. So that self-introspection, that ability to, as Tony Robbins says, the quality of our lives is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask. And
okay. So do you mean that it would be like a one-to-one to yourself, with yourself?
Yeah, one-to-one with yourself or with me or somebody else. But I train.
If you wanted to do it on your own, the first thing you say meditation, then ask question to yourself. So you are in a safe space, silence. It's just like being in silence with yourself, having a meeting with yourself.
Absolutely. And it really is that stillness and that ability, because it's not just being able to listen to questions and tune into your soul, or to turn into that heart space to find the answers, or to build that relationship with your inner world. It's the ability to also to be able to feel, because it's not just through the answers. And it's not just in those moments or connections with the higher self that we get answers. It can be through signs and synchronicities, somebody could be, there's a book that just appears, or a page opens on the exact thing, or so it's awakening to the language of the universe. And through this process, that's what you get to do. The S, oh gosh, what are they now? Asking questions. I can't remember at the top of my head this whole acronym. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, for intuition, you were talking about emotions. I remember I didn't used to listen to my body, for example, when there was an event. And I remember once I had a job offer in my previous life when I was working in sales. And suddenly I felt like somebody had punched me in the stomach. And I just thought, you know what? That's a no. I'm not even going to consider it. That was just, I don't know if you call that intuition but my body just reacted, and I just thought, no way. And I'm glad I didn't, because it turned out that wasn't the right job for me. And another one came up later, and that was the perfect job. So
yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing, like when you're tuned in, when you actually follow that guidance, it's always, intuition is always the truth. And when we start to question, oh no, maybe the money's going to be so good. I did that. I took a job that I knew I shouldn't have taken. And this was part of my process. And I think for many, I took a job. I was interviewed for 3 jobs on the same day, 3 schools, got all of them. And the one I knew was right for me, I didn't take, because I took it because I let my mind take control. And I chose a school that was 5 minutes from my house. Worst decision, but good, because I ended up on another, amazing journey as a result of going down that wrong road. But had I listened to my intuition, I would have gone to the school that was right for me.
Yeah, that's true. We have to listen to ourselves, and sometimes, well, the excuse is, I've got no time. I've got kids, I've got the job, or well, we spend more time in our phones or on the computer than just trying to find some space where we can just sit, relax, and listen to our heart, listen to our soul. So, do you think it's something which is changing? I know you were telling us at the beginning of the talk show that we are changing, we are getting more in tune with to ourselves, to our inner self. So do you think it's changing?
I think so. I think many people are. I think this whole pandemic situation has provided many people with the opportunity to be isolated as well, and to have the space, to slow down. And I do think more and more people are awakening. We are living in a super busy modern time where the modern world is just so busy, you know, and I think as a species we have to slow down, and we have to make these changes to continue, because I just think systems that are in place at the moment aren't actually working. And so the more people start to slow down and tune into their own inner knowledge, their own inner wisdom, make choices that are more aligned with what's perhaps important, but that's going to be different for all of us. And
exactly.
I think things will change, and I think people are looking to connect more with their soul story, and to live more aligned and more consciously.
Okay. So using intuition in business, how would you say we use intuition in business? In our private life, I think it's easier, I think, but intuition, you would say a new market, open a new market, or travel, or take on a new product. I don't know what.
Oh my God, there's so many ways that you can be used effectively in a business context. So, you know, one of the ways is when we're using our intuition, we, instead of having to go through, like in industries where you have to go through vast amounts of information and synthesize, rather than doing that, you know, if you're tuned into your intuition, you don't have to compare and evaluate and do all of this. You look, I'm sure most of the biggest business names have been Steve Jobs. You know, he's guided by his intuition. And I think there's probably many other names, people that are really tuned in, and creatively they create innovation, you know. If you're able to tune into your intuition, you're able to be more innovative. So people who are making apps, people who are expanding in a digital age, I think a lot of that is based on intuition.
Well, I'm a big fan of Richard Branson.
Yeah.
For me, it's just like, oh my God, it's a bit like Steve Jobs. And so I suppose, first they believed in themselves and in their intuition. So yes, that's true.
And I also think, for me, I've begun to become more in tune. I've just cleared like 400 people from my Facebook, because I'm realizing, actually, you're not aligned, you're not aligned. And I don't waste time.
Aligned with you.
Aligned
on
with
the
me,
same vibe.
aligned with me and the work that I do or want to do, and the people that I want to work with. So even I was even giving demonstration sessions a couple of months ago on the mindset alchemy, belief clearing. That was a really great opportunity for people, and I reached out to quite a lot of people, about I don't know, like 30 people, and gave them sessions. And there were a few that responded that I just knew. I didn't have to explain it. I just said, no, I'm not going to do that. So actually, when you start to tune into your intuition, you can make decisions before even connecting with people, wasting time. Ultimately, you can save time.
So basically, whenever I listen to you, it's just like do a lot of cleaning, you know, cleaning your house, cleaning your head, cleaning your relationships, So you've got free space, free time for yourself.
Yes. And I wanted to mention this before, but we got off track, which is fine. But talking of cleaning and talking about that going within, one of the things I really emphasize is looking at the world as the mirror. You know, people say, oh, you know, that's a common idea, but for me, it's been my experience. So I only talk about things that I've learned and understood. And before I understood that from a universal law standpoint, I came to this insight. So a lot of what I tell people to do is look at the external world. What is showing up for you? Because when you see what is going on out there, whether that's your bank balance, whether that's the situations and circumstances that are happening to you or not happening to you, look within. It's the clue. It's the easiest way to investigate what's going on. Do I have a subconscious belief? Do I have a self-worth belief? Do I have something I need to investigate within me in order for that not to be my reality, for me to create the reality that I consciously want? Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, true. Yeah, because we are the creator of our lives, really. It's just if we don't decide, choose what we want, it's not going to happen. So we have to just I would say stop, observe, investigate, as you said, and just create with things in place. And sometimes, as you said, it's like a bit of cleaning, and sometimes we're going to get rid of people who are not on the same vibe, on the same level. And that's a risk we have to take. And sometimes people don't want to do it, which I can appreciate. But eventually down the line, they will have to, because they won't be happy. So
and I think people find it really triggering a lot of the time when you say, you know, that you are creating your reality. People do get triggered by that, but that is the reality. So it's like, once you have the information, what do you do with it? Do you choose to follow it? And what I also say is, life is about a big experiment, you know. I mean, I'm also just beginning to really get into human design, and I'm a 1-3. A 1 is somebody who investigates and learns, so that we're, you know, so I get that. I know that I'm always going to be approaching things from that investigative standpoint, but I believe life is an investigation. And I am a 3, which means, you know, I like to do things by trial and error. I'm a researcher, you know, I'm a scientist, almost a life scientist. But this idea of investigation and scientifically using hypotheses, looking at the external, testing things out, changing as I have to go, responding to life, is really, I think, how it should be, what the soul's journey is, or the hero's journey. And it's like, I like the idea, like I said, about synthesizing things. When I used to teach literacy and critical thinking, and when I created a cross-curricular curriculum, whether it was maths, science, history, English, I started to see the connection between, you know, like there's this thing called the Bloom's taxonomy. So that's like the taxonomy of thinking. We have lower order thinking skills, which are like recall, memory, I can recall, right? And you go up to an analysis and evaluate. And each level has different vocabulary, such as describe this, analyze this, whatever. And you have the same language through all of the subjects. So English, you have to predict so that you can make meaning, but you also have to predict in history. You also have to predict in science. So I started to see how this common language and these thinking skills could work. And then I was just like, oh my God, this is how life works. So I just jumped in from that context into this adventurous, like synchronistic, magical world speaking to you by using those same skill sets, getting your magnifying out. Oh, let me clarify. Oh, let me ask a question, you know?
Totally, I agree with you. But that's, as we're saying, people don't take the time, and it's a shame, because that's something we've got within, we can use, and it's like a compass, and that would help us go on the right path and create what we want. So yeah, basically meditate, take some time for yourself, listen to your body, your emotions. Anything else you could tell us, Jess, for intuition?
So we've got the emotions, we've got listening to our bodies. Perhaps, I can't think at the top of my head. I feel like we've covered the core things that you could begin to do. Notice your bodily sensations, notice how you feel around others, and also perhaps look back over your life over the last between 1 month and 6 months and see if you have made decisions that you could have made differently if you had tuned into the information that you were getting. So, did you get a sensation in the body? Did you receive a dream, or the answer? Like, how many times have you just known the right answer for something? Stuff like that. But
it's really funny because I've noticed synchronicity as for me at the moment. Just like I'm reading a book about something, they're mentioning part of the world, and suddenly it appears in 2 different series on Netflix. Yeah. And suddenly I'm just like, oh, I need to investigate what it's all about. Or my logo is a phoenix, because obviously I chose some bird as to rise from ashes. And I met somebody, and she's got as well a phoenix as a logo, and I'm just like, that's a sign. I've got to work with that lady, for example. Things like that.
Exactly.
So,
meaningful coincidences, synchronicity, and that's it. Like, that is our consciousness giving us the clues. And that's the other thing, the clues. I always say, what are the clues?
Yes, definitely, because that's why I keep saying as well, when people have glasses, change your glasses. Have a look in a different way, from a different angle, different situation. Try to investigate and see how you could do it differently, because there are so many different ways we can do things. So why do we have to do it the same way all the time? So I don't know, just like taking the car and instead of going on the same road every day, and just change. Maybe something will happen. Maybe we will, I don't know, find that customer we want to work with, or just change and listen with the ears, because sometimes I get words or through a conversation somebody's having, and suddenly it's just like, oh, that's my answer.
Exactly.
So listen, feel, and I would say don't think too much. What do you think?
Exactly. Yeah. Do you know what, actually, now you mention it, back in December and November, I was doing classes with people to develop intuition and getting them into that right side of the brain. And I was getting people to develop their drawing skills, but I was metacognitively getting them to know the difference consciously, to be aware of when they're using that left brain. So when you're labeling parts, you're on the left side. But when you're just drawing free form and you're just looking at, say, a picture of a horse and you're drawing the lines and you get lost in it, you're now in the right side of the brain. And so it's about perception and becoming aware of that perception and having that perception shift, as you say. One simple tool that I could leave you with and give away is something I learned on one of the courses I did like 3 years ago, but I liked, and it was from Sonia Choquette. And it was, so meditation, close your eyes, deep, start breathing deeply, straight, sit with a straight spine, legs planted on the floor, you don't have to do it. And what you do is you see the figure of 8 symbol, but with your eyes closed, and you just move your eyes around, breathing and moving that figure of 8 up, your eyeballs up and down and round and up. And what that does, it helps you to really tune out, because eventually you forget. So after just 3 or 4 minutes, you're actually in a nice meditative state. And that's really great. If you want to ask yourself a question, write the question down and then start doing the figure of 8 thing. And that's playing, it's moving both sides of your brain, which then helps you to merge both of them and get out of that left brain thinking.
Yeah, and just listen to the answer and straight away get the pen and just write it, because otherwise you're going to forget.
Yeah.
Great. So Jess, tell us a bit more about your program. When can we connect with you, and when are you going to start the programs, or tell us? Or is it a one-to-one, or is it like a group program?
Okay, so I have 2 spaces for one-to-one work. And when I do one-to-one, it can be over 3 months. And that's, you know, in intuition development, it's energy clearing, it's a variety, it's bespoke spiritual development, and really about reclaiming power and creating consciously, and processes and all sorts of things, but based on your own needs. So there's 2 spots for that. I do the Mindset Alchemy energy clearing training, and that is a short course. It's 6 hours. That's on monthly rotation. Okay. So that's available anytime. The next one's in July the 1st. Okay. So that would be really great if you wanted to hop onto this. That's really for people that are already understand journaling, people that already meditate, people that are familiar with that inner work. And because I go into depth about how to clear beliefs, how to use muscle testing and various other things to connect, but it's not for people that are not already committed to creating a lot of change in their lives, because it's pointless otherwise. And then my 12-week program, which includes this energy clearing tool, as well as shadow work, inner child healing, various other energy clearing meditative strategies for intuition development, that just message me directly and I'll give you some more information about that.
Yeah, I've put your email in the description of the Facebook Live, so feel free to contact Jess and to register and start the program with her. That looks really interesting, sounds very interesting. So, well, Jess, thank you very much for being with us today. And I will let you know what my intuition is telling me, so I will keep you posted.
Thank you.
And next week, my guest speaker will be Isabelle, and we are going to talk about mastering your own life. So thank you very much for tuning with us today, and see you next week. Bye-bye.